that you do, and I know that we've got many of the folks out there who attend our AIM webinars on a regular basis. I think I could have retitled this workshop, or this webinar rather, Work from Anywhere Remotely, because Dave today is in our Yakima office. You could actually be listening, maybe not in your own office, somewhere else. You could be at your cottage or a cabin. If you are enjoying the summer weather, maybe you're on a boat. That just shows you the amazing technology in the world that we live in today. And I'm very excited to have the opportunity to share with you some insights, and hopefully you'll have some questions along the way. As Dave said, we'll hold them to the very end. So let's get into some discussion points. We're going to cover these areas in this short time that we have together: what research tells us, why sell online, fad or is it here to stay? A couple success stories, the online sales cycle, online sales tools needed, online sales process, some tips, and of course how AIM can be a great resource for you in helping you to grow your business and to take advantage of remote selling. So a couple statistics here that I found very interesting that the IBM Institute put out, and that is just in this day and age that we live in, about how people are actually using technology to their advantage, whether it's interaction points such as a phone, website, or screen sharing activity to look into and actually to purchase insurance policies. And of course, we all watch TV at some point. I would imagine that we see ads that appeal to this concept of buying online, whether it's car insurance, whether it's a Lending Tree ad where it shows a consumer that used to go into a brick and mortar office and now he's sitting at home shopping online. So it's all around us, and one of the reasons why we think you should be looking into this for your own practice is that it opens up, first and foremost, a larger lead universe due to the fact that you're not limited to your county or your city or even your own state, that you have the opportunity to work in multiple states. Number two, you may also be able to tap into less expensive leads given the fact that you're expanding the number of states that you're working in. Number three, everyone has busy lives. Some are raising children, working moms, working fathers, and you need to have flexibility maybe during the day, and having the ability to work different time zones with different states gives you the ability to schedule out some of your other personal time and also other commitments that you may have. Number four is pretty obvious, the no more wear and tear on you or your automobile and your travel expense. I thought for a moment about that, and could you imagine if you were driving, and depending on where you live, maybe 40 miles an hour is not your average speed, but certainly if you were doing 40 miles an hour, driving 500 miles a week, that's 12 and a half hours of driving. If you do 12 and a half hours times 50 weeks in the year, that's 625 hours per year. That works out to be over 78 days a year, or 15.6 to be exact, weeks a year. So imagine having an extra 15 plus weeks a year. So really, it's about time and about being as efficient as you can, because number five, if a client does not show, guess what? There's zero travel time wasted. And some of us have experienced that, where you've worked hard, you've lined up 2 or 3 appointments, and you have a lot of windshield time ahead of you, and then you even do your very best to confirm an appointment, something happens and the client doesn't show. Here, with remote selling, you're able to go on to maybe a backup plan that you have to get on the phone and schedule another appointment. So we'll talk more about that. This visual shows you, just with one of our AIM business partners in the LTC space, this is LTC specific, about how their own career agents have really increased over, since 2010. You can see that they were measuring at that time their sales force introducing remote selling, and it had 19%, which is fairly respectable. So if you fast forward to this past year, 2014, 70% of that's pretty powerful, and that number is only going to continue to increase over time. So a couple success stories here, just to kind of give you the confidence that you can do this. And I know each of these individuals I'm citing, and I guess one of the benefits of my position at American Independent Marketing is I have the opportunity to travel around the country. Presently, I'm at a conference in San Diego, so I'm working remotely and talking to you remotely, and I've had the opportunity to meet many individuals who are having success with remote selling. And I'll just cite a couple quick examples. One was a individual who basically met an LTC specialist and got involved in the business. Never sold any other way other than remote selling. And you can see in 2012, all remote selling applications, 359 of them, or $659,000 of LTC premium, was all done through webinar-based remote selling. Astounding. If you fast forward to this past year, she continues to sell at a very high level. That was a record year, but she is still selling in the $400,000 to $500,000 a year premium mark. One of the top writers in the country, never leaving her home. Number two is a gentleman that I know very well that actually for many years lived in Pennsylvania. Got tired of the winter weather and averaging 60,000 miles a year in his car. Knew some people in the business within his own organization that were selling remotely. Got interested, and again in about 2010 began to transition his business. With 10 years of experience and only having sold face to face, this gentleman also is a very high writer and continues to this day to write at a very high level. The third individual is an individual who's a little bit more unique, lives in one state and does not take advantage of the ability to do business in other states, feels like he has enough business in his own state. So he only does business in one state, and in 3 years' time, all through remote selling, living in a major city that you'd have to fight every day if you have to leave the city or come back to the city as far as the traffic, has done over $1.3 million. There's many more stories like this, and we're citing right now strictly long-term care success. Not an easy product, actually, when you think about it, and yet these are individuals and many others who've been able to master the ability to tell that story and to do it remotely. So what's different about selling online? The difference is the time in which we live. Selling insurance today involves being part of the consumer's research and sales process. And one key word that I did not put in this is education. Because in many cases, what you are doing is you are acting as an educator for those who've been shopping and doing some of the research online to continue to help them in that process. And it's very much a consultative approach that you're taking when you're working in the remotely. When we think about the digital age, some of you on this call may have been around long enough to think that you were, still operating in the Stone Age. That that technology is something that hasn't been your friend. Well, this is something that we all need to adapt and make changes, because if we don't adapt, we're going to find that there's probably not going to be as many opportunities in the future. And so the digital age is here to stay, and it certainly is not a fad. It is definitely where the market is going in the insurance space. This online sales cycle visual, I think, is somewhat interesting. When I started in the business many years ago, I was told to purchase 2 books. One was Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Some of you have read it. Maybe some of you have not. But the other book that was so important, they said, is you have to look the part. So there was a book by Don Malloy called Dress for Success. Well, if you're going to sell remotely, you don't have to worry so much about the dressing for success. It may be that you're going to replace Dress for Success with a book and go to your local bookstore or library and pick up, Dummy's Guide to Effective Use of Your Computer. If for those of you that are not the most proficient with computer use or with PowerPoints and so on and so forth. But this just kind of shows you how the market has changed, and I'm going to get into some of the tools that you need to have. And so in your virtual briefcase, these are the tools for the digital age. So we'll start with the hard goods. You definitely need to have a computer. Very difficult to sell remotely if you're not able to communicate with folks. Clairvoyancy skills don't seem to really work. A printer, a scanner, probably having a headset would be helpful. Some even like to have a second monitor because they like to be able to have some of the other tools that are in their virtual briefcase available for part of the discussion when they're having a webinar with a particular prospect. Personalized educational website. We'll talk a little bit more about this and how important it is that you have a digital presence. But now you might get into some of the services. And we like the Join Me screen sharing service because it's a free service. Others like ScreenLeap, that's another one. There's Glance. There's no shortage of actually screen sharing services out there. And they're all, some are free, some come with a small cost that you depend upon what you want to get out of that particular service. It is important that you have a FedEx account or UPS account. Even as Dave indicated in our changing marketplace today where we have an e-app, you still may have a need to have those accounts, just maybe not as much for applications anymore with the e-app evolution, but it's probably important just in case you do need to send something to a client. Some phone essentials, obviously a smartphone is important to have, and along with the smartphone, a toll-free number. This gives you a couple ideas on where you can get toll-free numbers and a free conference line, especially if you are doing a presentation where let's say the husband and wife or the two couples are not necessarily in the same home. One might be at one location, another might be at another location. So the ability for them to call into your free conference line would be very helpful. Some other tools in the software area, many of you can use a tool like StratedVision. I want to point out that on our whyaim.com site that Dave referenced earlier, is we have a free comparison software of the carriers that we represent that you can run those comparisons off of our website, and there's no cost at all. So, as you're getting set up to move into this area of remote selling, there is some additional costs that you may have to incur. So we want to be careful that, in areas that we can help you, to not have to go out and to have another monthly obligation for something like a StratedVision. You know that you have some tools at AIM that can help you. I pointed out one of our other products, which is GPL, which is our critical care. That's an alternative for LTC declines. It's something you should become familiar with. It's available in about 40 states, not all states, so it may not be a price that you can take advantage of. But as we start talking about this remote selling, we're not just limited to long-term care. There's long-term care alternatives, and there may be other price that fit also within your wheelhouse that you'd like to be able to share with folks remotely. Certainly you need to have carrier items available as far as in this virtual briefcase for underwriting guides, brochures, the e-app. Make sure that you have your non-resident state licenses up to date, and then other resources that may help you that are great for the consumer, such as longtermcare.gov, which reinforces all the good statistics that we all know and use. I'm not suggesting that you overuse statistics. I'm just suggesting that you have resources that enables your client or prospect to know that you're a resource in helping them to shop and to get more educated on what's available to them if we're referring, in this case, to long-term care. Of course, also in a long-term care partnership website that tells you about the current partnership stage. So those are just some of the tools that are available. And the process of actually getting started really depends on your situation. Lead generation is not much different than how lead generation would be if you were selling face-to-face. The difference is, however, that instead of just having direct mail or referrals or existing customers to go back to or a public or co-sponsored seminar that you might be doing, and those that attend that seminar, as far as a follow-up, being able to set up a remote presentation, is the internet lead. That is kind of a new area that's growing very rapidly, and a lot of consumers are who research online do so, and the ability to purchase those leads are available to you. And the costs vary, of course, with between internet leads and direct mail. On the pre-appointment, when we look at pre-screens for health, there's a number of folks that we work with who are selling remotely that spend a good deal of time really in the pre-screening before the actual setting up of the webinar. And they want to make sure that when they actually schedule that time and date, that they have a qualified prospect that they can help. And as we know, if we're referring to long-term care, we know how important it is that we pre-screen for health. So very simple questions, and we have some of these tools available, but I'll give you an example. A health qualifying question: how's your health been? Bob and Mary, before we set up our time for me to walk you through and educate you a little bit more about long-term care and some of your options, have either one of you been in the hospital in the last 5 years? Are you taking any medications right now? Another approach you might say as part of a pre-screening for health is you could actually cover some of the financial aspects to make sure you're talking to someone who will not only be pre-screening for health, you pre-screen them a little bit on the financial side. Bob and Mary, if you needed care today, and let's just say, to be very, very conservative, the cost was just $45,000 a year. How many years do you think that you could cover that cost out of your pocket, out of your investments? Or you might say, when I set up and have this opportunity to walk you through and help you to learn a little bit more about long-term care, I really recommend long-term care to people who have assets to protect. Do you have money in retirement plans, real estate, or any other assets? So in other words, you can set the stage in a pre-appointment and get a lot accomplished before you actually go to the time and effort to have an actual webinar. You want to make sure that you send out email confirmation. I'll get into more of this, time and date, the screen sharing info, the 9-digit code if you're using Join Me. You want to also make sure that as they are getting ready for that time and date, that you've given them your website. You want them to go and to do a little bit of research on their own, to know a little bit about you as far as prior to the actual time that you are having the appointment. So when you have the appointment, you're going to need to have a personalized, customized presentation. You want to make sure it's concise, knowing that you don't have, the luxury in many cases on a face-to-face visit where you might spend several hours with someone, that your presentation needs to be probably 30 to 45 minutes tops. You want to make sure that you are letting them know that you're going to make some recommendations on plan design, help them to go shopping, if you will, for long-term care. Also in the appointment, I'm going to explain to you the application process and how you actually get started. So you always want to manage people's expectations. And the client expectations are really important, that you have a list that you prepare so that they know what the process is. A couple producer reminders, letting them know also during the course of the appointment about what the procedure is if they are moving forward, the phone interview, medical records. If you're working with a carrier that does a paramed, you need to make sure that you line out all of these other expectations so that none of this comes as a surprise to the client. Some other online sales tips, once again, to reinforce that pre-appointment activity. You confirm the email address. You send the appointment perhaps via Outlook directly to their client calendar. You follow up an email and call 24 hours prior to before the appointment. Use your confirmation email template, personalize it with name, date, time, so that you can use it with every interview that you're going to have. You clarify that they have internet access and can be on the phone and computer at the same time. For couples, ask if they have a speakerphone or can use two phones during the presentation, or make sure that you may have to use your conference line if they're not going to be in the same area, the same general vicinity, office or home or what have you. When you're confirming your appointment call 1 day prior to the appointment, you confirm with a phone call. Best time to call is probably around the same time as the appointment is scheduled for. You can answer machine, leave a voicemail. This gives you a little bit of text here, and Dave can certainly make available to you any of these tips and any of the things that you're seeing here today in our webinar that you can have if you'll just let him know that's something you'd like to receive. He can certainly email about. Some online sales tips continued. So again, one of the things that you want to make sure of, no different than really when you go into someone's home or if they were coming into your office, you want to make sure there's no other distraction. So the request is the client turn off the TV and radio and do this in a polite manner. Make sure that this is conversational, that you're not just basically going through all of your PowerPoint presentation. It's important to what I call check the oil. And you want to check it often by asking a lot of questions. You want to make sure that you're engaging the individuals the same way you would engage them if you had the opportunity to look at them face to face. Some like to use in their PowerPoint a little highlighter that circles to keep people engaged when they're using slides. It's important to have other tools that you're going to be using, whether it's the quoting software or whether it's our with Mutual of Omaha. As many of you know, we've got the most state-of-the-art standalone quoting software that's available in the industry. It's fantastic, and many are using that in their screen sharing opportunities when they get into the plan design. And once again, make sure you have your virtual briefcase organized and open with anything else that you may need to have. The application process, in addition to the e-app, we also have a Syllable app, and of course, you know, there's paper apps. Not every carrier does have an e-app, so you may have a situation where you have to, again, utilize those FedEx accounts or UPS accounts if you're sending things overnight. So the AIM approach to sales, we want to be a resource, and we have grown in this area just like many of you are growing in this area as far as seeing the importance, and that we've adapted and changed and have created more tools that will actually help you to succeed with your remote selling. So this is our little AIM commercial here, just to let you know 8 reasons why brokers are choosing AIM. One, we have a long history of supporting brokers, over 35 years. We are innovators in creating new marketing opportunities. In addition to long-term care, as many of you know, we've created products for the industry in the critical illness space with our GTL Critical Care, one of the leaders in med-subs. We are a resource in other product areas, and remote selling doesn't just involve long-term care. It may involve cross-marketing into some of these other product areas. We can help you with that underwriting pre-screen with our great resource people like Dave Whalen and other marketing support advanced marketing staff. Great personalized marketing materials. If you go to our website, thewhyin.com, you'll find not only with long-term care, but now we've just recently created some amazing new tools that are available to you that you can use on your website as well as using in your remote selling as far as brochures and point-of-sale materials in the critical illness space. And of course, with some of our other great internal folks at AIM, we have the ability to help you track your business 24/7. So in addition to that, the last point, and I'm not going to spend too much time here, but if you don't have a website, we have a digital marketing platform called The Connected Agent, and we can help you take advantage of getting set up if you don't have a website. If you do have a website, then it's important that you use all of this other content and support materials that are available through our whin.com that can help to make your library on your website stronger. So as clients do their research and they basically seek out information about you prior to actually your appointment, you'll look as professional as possible. It's important to have a digital platform that will work to your advantage. And at AIM, If you don't have one, we're here to help you. So with that, Dave, and with just a couple final closing thoughts, we'll open it up to questions. So here's something I wanted to share with you. Remember, this, like filming face-to-face, you've got to prepare carefully for those webinars and for the remote sewing opportunity. When you're presenting, you need to present professionally. You need a concise presentation with clear visuals. Visualization is very important that people can see because they can't see you. Now, yes, there's Skyping, and that is another growing trend that is developing in remote sewing, where people at home, they have a camera on their computer where they can see you. But having not got to that point with many folks yet, the importance is to have a presentation that has got good visuals and not just heavy laden with only text. When you persuade, remember that you're persuading with an educational twist. Obviously, when people are researching online, it's a delicate way that we nudge them to have them move forward and going into the application process and to qualifying whether or not they can get this particular coverage. The bottom line is, if you can sell in the home, you can sell over the internet. But let me share with you, practice, practice, practice. And I would encourage everyone who's listening that you want to go back to people who love you the most. Hopefully that's your existing client. And that's a great place to start, because when you make a mistake or it doesn't go as smoothly on your screen sharing, these are people who already do business with you, and it might be a great way to start by doing reviews and doing reviews online remotely. With that, Dave, let's open it up to any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. I am going through and slowly unmuting people, so just a second here, just about got everybody taken care of. Okay, I believe I have everybody unmuted, so if there are any questions of Dennis, now will be the time to bring those up. Thank you.
I've got a question. Is there a PowerPoint presentation that AIM already has in place?
We have some different, PowerPoints. We don't have a specific one strictly that we've used because obviously we've had some of our agents that have shared with us some of the things that they have, but we could certainly get you some content that you could use to develop and personalize your presentation. One of the things I didn't share, and that's the importance of when you are helping people to shop and to look into this, is that making sure you've got pictures of yourself on your website or just during the course of your PowerPoint that's personal to you, that helps them to connect with who you are versus just something that's abstract that's just someone else's PowerPoint. So, and again, oftentimes less is more. I've seen PowerPoints that range from 40 visuals down to 15 visuals, and a lot of it is really just engaging in the conversation and having certain talking points, but we can certainly help you in that area.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. We do have both. We've built over the years a fairly generic consumer PowerPoint. We've got one that Mutual built themselves on their current product. It's just an inventory of slides. You can pick and choose and merge several together to form whatever you're comfortable with. Maybe customize some of your own slides as well. A number of people along the way typed in a question if they can get a copy of the PowerPoint. Yes, you can. Just pop me an email after the webinar, and I'd be happy to reply with a copy of Dennis's PowerPoint from today's webinar. Any other questions out there? Okay, Dennis? The YAIM.com website for upcoming events and webinars. and you'll also get invitations similar to the one you received for today's webinar as well. So if there aren't any additional questions, I would want to reach out and thank each of you for taking the time to join us today. I hope you picked up a few additional little tips to potentially add to your practice and increase your sales and your earnings. So please do not hesitate to call on us at any time. We'll do whatever we can to help with your success. Dennis, thanks again, buddy. We really do appreciate you taking the time.
Dave, glad for doing that, and we're glad to help any way we can. So have these individuals reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to do what we can to help them to, take this next step to incorporate remote selling into their practice.
All right, good. Well, thanks again, Dennis. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.